Since I've been reporting on this, and since I've been talking about this or whatever, excuse me, I'm put some lotion on my face. Face a little dry. I'm gonna look down with camera. Where do I start? PNB Rock, man. First of all, I want to say RP to him. Huh? That's more or less what I'm here for and what this is all about. And I'm going to break down and add some other perspectives into this because it's just fair and proves something that I was already talking about. It's just fair and proves something I was already talking about. Um, where do I start? I'm going to kind of freestyle this one um, because I got so many thoughts that are running across my mind as I'm talking about this, right? But here's the thing: the family, yes, family, that killed PNB Rock, meaning each one of them was involved somehow, and all of them subsequently have now been charged with murder, right? A 17-year-old son, a 40-year-old father, and a 38-year-old stepmammy. Yes, I call her a stepmammy, and I'm going to tell you why I call her a stepmammy in a minute. See, what I've learned in this little time that I've been on earth here is that there are certain types of people within these hoods that have been grown, bred, and reared to be nothing but criminals. I remember when I was coming up, and I'm talking about here in the Northeast, and some down south too, I saw it too, but not like I saw it in the Northeast. I would see people, literally friends of mine, people I knew, and they would be selling drugs not only to the streets, but they'd be selling drugs to their family members. This is the family dynamic. I know people and I won't say I know them personally. I'm just saying things that I've seen. And some I do know personally, but I'm not going to put them out there like that. Where the daddy is a drug dealer and he's teaching the son to be a doppelganger of who he is, street dude, whatever the case may be, which I think would happen here. And many of y'all I know have the connotation to sit around sometimes and say, oh, well, if he had a daddy in his life or whatever, whatever. And I've known, and people that know me on here have heard me mention several times. Well, it's not if you got a daddy, but if you got a good father for the child. See, there's a lot of fucked up fathers out here. And I'm going to tell you where they come from mostly. There was this little thing boys and girls called it, well, late 80s, early 90s. And in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of people that at one time were civilized and dignified people for the most part started turning into a microcosm of what that once was. And they started turning into something else. They all of a sudden wanted to be gangsters and the drug epidemics and all that throughout major cities, including New York, Miami, LA, or whatever, whatever, prompted these men to become something what you see today. And it's not all of these men, of course, we know that for a fact. But there's a high prosperity of these men. And the reason for it is a lot of these men were birthed into it. Yes, a lot of these men that were born in late 1980s, early 1990s, they're grown men now. Most of them are anywhere between the ages of 21 through what, 31? You understand? So these are the men that are out in the streets now. And a lot of these guys, they've been raised in environments where daddy was a gangster, daddy was a shooter, daddy was the top chief of the gang, or whatever the case may be, in many and multiple cities. And this is what I think's happened here. Now, I'm not trying to say this guy's ranking. I don't even know specifically if this guy's involved in a gang. He just did this solo. But the point is, the influence is there. And it's something that needs to be talked about. Now, I can go into the regular diatribe about, what happened and recounting everything, but I want to take a step across from that and I want to talk about something else because this actually is a problem. And I see it day to day. I can't tell you how many countless times, whether I'm here in my city here in Connecticut or whether I'm in New York or whether I'm in Jersey. And I've seen this displayed many of times. Junior can recite the verses to a rapper, but doesn't know his ABCs. And then you're looking at the father and the mother, and you're like, well, what the hell are they doing? Or they're encouraging the behavior. Go ahead and dance. We've all seen this one time or another, yeah? So what I think happened here was being the fact that his daddy and this young man who was 17 years old, I want to reiterate that he was 17. That means last year he was 16, okay? They stood up at that Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle because they was looking for a lick. And I think when PNB Rock walked into that restaurant or whatever, that son, not the father, automatically recognized him. The son said, yo, listen, we can get this motherfucker right here. Look at the jewels he got on. They were sitting out there waiting to get somebody. And I'm just telling you what I think is PNB Rock just happened to come up there, and the son recognized them based on his age range. PNB Rock wasn't even 30 yet. So that would put him in somewhere in this weird space between almost being as old as the father and being relevant to the father's age, who was 40, and almost being just as relevant to the 17-year-old son. See, this all comes from teen pregnancies and young fathers and mothers. Not just the young mothers, young fathers and mothers. I even go a step further, and I understand why some of you ladies move to different cities, never tell certain dudes, hey, you got a baby out here. I've seen that with my own two eyes, and I'm like, you know what? I ain't even got a problem with that. This will be the 1, 2, 3, 4 times in my life that I don't have a problem with that. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Ask some of your girlfriends. Ask some of your girlfriends. There's a lot of women out here that have had children by men that they ain't so proud of. And what they say is, well, you know what? I'm on my way to getting this degree. And what he's doing is in the way. And I know I messed with him that night, and I really care about him, but I got to move on. And if I got to take Junior or our daughter with us, then that's what I'm going to do. So good luck to you, you know? And so that's what we see. And I'm trying to tell you guys, sometimes when I get up here and I'm talking about these things or whatever, some people be like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" or whatever, because I've had this conversation already. And in fact, to be quite honest with you, for my longtime listeners that know me, I've done probably like 8 of these lives talking about just that. Okay, he's a daddy, but what type of daddy is he? Is he a daddy that's selling drugs? Is he a daddy that's constantly in criminal activities? Is he a daddy that won't let gangbanging go? Is he a daddy that's still out here impregnating more chicks or whatever the case may be, and having more side babies and still in and out of jail now at 35, 40, 45 years old? And a lot of women, I hate to say it, a lot of women acknowledge these men. So was the case with this woman that was married to this man, the daddy, the getaway driver. Yes, you heard me correctly. The father in this situation was the getaway driver. Well, the son was perpetually was a shooter. That's what they saying. He's the one that shot PNB Rock. And so it led me to this. I've been through a lot of New York City. I've been through a lot of the tri-state, and I definitely know Connecticut like the back of my hand. And in all 3 of those states, one thing that always stands significant is one thing you always see. You always see, and this doesn't exclude white people either, because I've seen whites in the same situation. But right now, I'm just talking about blacks and Latinos. That's what I know. That's what's been my bloodline. So that's what I speak about. Yeah. So I can't tell you how many times that I've seen these guys walk around with the kids, and they got the kids with the pants sagging, trying to emulate them as adults, whatever the case may be. So now this child grows up in this environment all his life. He's saturated, he's digesting everything that's around him, all the speech that's taught, all the violence that he sees, all the weed smoke that he smells from his parents smoking, all the cursing, all the yelling, everything like that, right? So now at about age 8 or 9, it's now ingrained in this kid's mind that, hey, I might as well be a criminal too, like daddy. Or like mama. Because let's make no mistake about it. I'm gonna get to the mom in a minute, the stepmom. Let me say that, the stepmom. Because it takes a low-level vibration piece of shit bitch to get herself involved in something like that. Yes, I called her a bitch because you're a piece of shit. You were involved in the murder of a young man that did absolutely nothing to you. You are a piece of shit bitch. Yes, you are. Stamp me on that, flag me, whatever you want to do. She's a piece of shit bitch. And you was a piece of shit bitch before then, because this wasn't the first day that these guys have started doing criminal activities like this. Now, you think you just wake up one morning and say, you know what, we're going to go to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles and rob somebody and kill him. That kid didn't even hesitate to shoot PNB Rock. Shot right there on site, which lets me know he's familiar with that type of behavior. You know how you get familiar with that type of behavior? Living in certain neighborhoods, being reared by certain people in the village. That's when people say, well, it take a village to raise a child. I said, well, depending on who the village is. I'll say that for you again. When people say, hey, it takes a village to raise a child, you got to say, well, it depends on who's make up of the village. If the makeup of the village is a whole bunch of shooters, gamblers, drug dealers, or whatever, then I don't want that fucking village having anything to do with my child. I don't know about you. Maybe you think it's cute, as many of y'all like to do all the time. A key, a key. I can't tell you how many posts I go on. Is LOL, a key. These are men. These are men. I just the other day, I'm gonna tell you what the mentality of a lot of guys is now. I just the other day I was going through some stuff with Cardi B, which I'm gonna throw up the post in a little bit or whatever. It's not time conscious, so I can throw it up anytime. And there was a litany of different men on there, and they were involved in the beef with Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. Like these were Barb's and Cardi's, and I'm like, hold up, no man should be on these posts right now commenting on anything. This is girl business. You understand what I'm saying? Brings me back to what I was saying right here. A lot of these men that we're talking about, like this gentleman that got caught with his 17-year-old son robbing and killing someone, these men were raised by women and cantankerous, nasty, belligerent piece of shit women at that. You understand? They were raised in environments with these women that, for the most part, are shitty. All right. I'm trying to make fun of people or whatever because I think in some of these situations, some of these kids prevail and they get out of these situations and they move on with their life. But the real problem about it is this: these kids, when they get around about 8, 9, or 10 years old, they now have ingrained in their head what they're going to do as far as criminality is concerned. They're now walking around the neighborhood and you start to see a change in them. How do I know? Because I used to be a little boy. And I had other little friends that were little boys. And we saw some of them teeter off and go wayward. And we saw some of them go and excel. And they did the things like I did, worked at record companies, all kinds of other stuff, right? But what stands in contention is this: the ones that didn't make it, later on, what they do is they become your robbers, they become your drug dealers, or whatever. Not necessarily, but what the problem is they continue it all through life. Had this young man not been stopped right here and he was shooting somebody at 17, what do you think he would have done at 23, 24, 25? By happenstance. Let's just say by happenstance. If this is where he was at 17, what do you think he would have been at 20, 25, 30 years old? And this is why I continuously keep trying to tell you guys. Well, a lot of y'all are online and you're looking at certain behaviors and you're like, a key, he. You have no trajectory sense. You don't know where a lot of this stuff is heading on to. And what I'm telling you guys right now is you're raising some of the most, well, society is and the internet is, especially. They seem to be raising your kids. When I was coming up, it was the mall was raising us. You understand what I'm saying? Your parents would drop you off at the mall and get rid of you for a couple hours and go do what they do and gamble, shop, whatever the case may be. Now it's the internet that babysits your kids. And once the internet is babysitting your kids, you never know what your kids are watching. A lot of y'all don't have monitors on your laptops or your devices or whatever the case may be. So you don't know what your kids saturate, especially when they're not with you or they're at school, whose influence they're under. Or in particular, if you have somebody that's a weekend daddy, you don't know what weekend daddy is saying to them. You understand? And weekend daddy is more dangerous than full-time daddy, in my opinion, anyway, because weekend daddy usually tends to be the guy that's like, you know what? Let me tell you the real reason me and your mama broke up. You know what? Your mama messed up. You know, it's usually that back and forth or whatever banter that goes on between the two once upon spouses. Now, these young boys nowadays, y'all want to get online and pretend like everything's beautiful and everything's sunshine and butterflies. And why don't we go kiki all day and talk a joke and a joke or two? You treat everything like you're fucking fourth graders with a book bag and running around kiki, LLL, everything that happens. This is not a funny situation because for the example of that man and his son that shot and killed PNB Rock is at least at minimum 20,000 more of these motherfuckers in close vicinity around each other all the time. And they're straighting ideas. They're scared to go to jail. They're scared to get arrested. Oh, if that happens, oh Lord, this is a travesty. How's it a travesty? Lock that motherfucker up. He was about to go in there and kill 4 people. Fuck him. This guy just shot a kid. Fuck him. And y'all got to learn how to say that. Y'all are putting culture over morality. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by that. I put all together, I think now, this will be my 5th post about PNB Rock, right? And I got my own specific reasons and involvement in this in my own ways. And I don't give a fuck who knows. But this is the point. Out of the posts that I put up, I noticed that they got less likes and less views than any of them, except for one of them. One of them got 1.7. That's when they actually had a suspect. And I was like, okay, I don't think you guys are really excited about this anyway. I think what really happened was here, I think a lot of people just sat back and they said, oh, well, he caught him. And now the drama and Da 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 is over, and now it's nothing. But what really disturbed me was on those same posts that I uploaded, you can't look for yourself because I have it set up where you can't see the dislikes. That's why I said who's ever disliking my video, because there's this one person that just, that's what they do on a daily basis, just come and hit dislike and think that's gonna stop me. Every time you hit dislike, I get more views. So keep doing what you're doing, all right? Um, it's crazy because I had maybe 4 to 5 people hit thumbs down on this information about PNB rock. So that goes to let you know the key generation. That's what I'm gonna start calling them, the key generation. The key LOL generation don't even give a fuck about their own. But as soon as something happens to you, you wallowing in the filth. You wallowing on the ground. Oh Lord, what happened? They didn't shot Tyrone. Tyrone ain't do nothing to nobody. He was just gonna rob you. You understand where I'm coming from? Your own sensibility of having comedy involved in everything that you do or whatever is making you numb, is making you unempathetic, and most importantly, is making you blind to shit. If there was ever a time when somebody say you were lacking, you lacking right now of this mentality. And how people are out here living honestly and truthfully, like the internet is an extension of them. You understand what I mean by that? Meaning, like, the life I live on the internet, I'm now going to transgress it into reality on my day-to-day life. And I'm sorry, my friend, you're going to find out very quickly that life don't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. Life not Android. Life's not iOS. Life's not Facebook. Life's not Twitter. That's why a lot of people have a problem with me, because I speak so plain, blunt, and honestly. You know, and I don't give a fuck if you do or don't. I've been up here maybe, what, a week now, and I have not had one person throw a donation towards me. So please believe me when I say I do this wholeheartedly. No other than that, I'm progressing to moving this over YouTube finally, because it's just like, it's sad because the way people were carrying this on YouTube, not to mention that dislikes I got on a man's murder being solved and the perpetuators being caught, it sent a different message to me. And that message was this: you cannot run around talking about this excellent shit or all this other shit and want to celebrate when somebody is winning, but you want to ignore every moment that's pivotal in certain other situations and how can I say, bounds of life within your own culture. It's asinine at this point. And what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot of these guys. See, this was all about the bag when they went in there to rob. And please make no mistake about it. And they didn't give a fuck if he was part of the culture. They didn't give a fuck if he looked like them. They didn't give a fuck. Matter of fact, it made him more of a target because he looked like them. And that's the part you're missing. So you'll have a lot of bloggers that come on here. They will say less than me. They will get more support than me, or whatever. But they're saying, guys, it's the same thing as these individuals that did this mother, father, and stepmother. And that stepmother, I want to talk about her for a minute, specifically. This woman, whatever her capacity was in the crime, she's now being charged with murder as well, right? Or assistance to murder, or whatever the case may be, having the crime is being charged. She's now being charged with that. We found out today. And the funny thing about it is at first when the cameras, when they first started mentioning them, nobody showed a picture of her. They just showed a picture of the actual fall that he got caught in Las Vegas. They just showed a picture of him. Finally, the news agencies did something that we were all waiting for. We have to stop defending women that are shitty people. You understand what I'm saying? And usually when it's a situation like this, you won't see the woman's face. And what they did was something different. They plastered this woman's face all around like they did this man. So the world would not believe that it was just a man involved. No, this woman's involved, because after they got home from that crime, which I'm speculating that's what they did, that's how her involvement came to tell. Once they got wrapped up in this and they went home, she did everything out of her motherfucking will to hide the crime, protect them, whatever the case may be. Everything except run away from them or go tell the police, hey, the niggas you looking for right here. She didn't do that. She chose instead to get herself involved and back up her husband and her murderous stepson. And nobody wants to have that conversation. And this is why I say, as much as y'all think y'all winning, are you really? Because it looks like to me you're losing. Yeah, we got millionaires, billionaires now, whatever, but you're losing. You guys won't even take the advantage of taking the time, especially the men. I want to stick with the men. I'll get back to this lady in a minute. But the men, they make me the most upset because you got all these different vloggers that are online and they all sit back and they talk about, oh yeah, we together and we got to do this, we got to do that, da, 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 da. Ask one of them motherfuckers when's the last time they donated to another male YouTuber that was black and Latino. Ask them. They will give you excuses. Oh, they'll laugh at all, but key. They'll do everything but be attentive to what was just presented to them. Guys, I hate to say this if you don't get it. You are alone. You are alone. And PNB Rock was alone. Nobody came to help him. Even in the video, when we watch him pass away and die, there was frivolous people, but they were walking and filming and staring and oh my gosh, and even his own baby mama, she did nothing to help. She wasn't standing with him. She was running around the restaurant hysterical. And yeah, maybe they were waiting for 911 to show up or whatever the case may be. But bottom line is, and a lot of people will hate me say this, I wish some white people were there. Because when I've seen the video after video, I'm not saying all white people do this, but I'm going to tell you why I said that. So you don't have to judge me. I wish white people were there because I think they would have had the empathy to be like, okay, let me see if I can do a little bit more. Let's do some chest compressions or whatever. Or let's see if we can get him suited up or whatever the case may be. Let's see if we can throw him in the car and take him to the hospital ourselves instead of waiting for the ambulance to show up while this man is dying. Nobody took the initiative to do that. They did not move him or anything else. They just sat around and filmed. There's over 5 different views of that boy dying on the ground that's available online. I will not upload any of them. That's sick. And I don't want to be the guy that has to answer for that one day when I'm getting to the pearly gates and be like, hey, you remember that time you did this? Which a lot of you are. A lot of you upload some of the worst stuff that I've ever seen about. The worse it is, the more you prioritize yourself on uploading, talking, gossiping, financially shaming people. Talking about who's going to fall off next and who lost it all, who's part of the Baphomet, who's part of the Illuminati. This is what you guys sit online day to day talking about. But you never talk about anything significant. When you really go to your favorite blogger, right? I want you to ask this question. Say to yourself this. Here's my favorite blogger. I've been donating to him for like a year, right? Outside of regurgitating stories that are already out there, or at least producing us a satire story that we have not heard, what do they bring up? What do they do to fulfill it? What do they do to help? What do they do to compensate for anything? If you pay attention and you go take a search right now on YouTube, I can guarantee you may find 8 bloggers, maybe 9 to 10 now. I made sure to look before I went live. You'll find about 8 bloggers that are on here. And they're the only ones talking about this PNB Rock situation. But this is a man of color at the same time. And you say in your diatribes, oh, we care about, no, what you care about is the story. And what you care about is in the moment. When Alpo died a couple months ago, right? Y'all had that same momentum. Oh, this is terrible. We got to stop this. When Mo3 died, y'all said the same thing. Oh, this is terrible. We got to stop. When Young Dolph died, y'all said the same thing. Oh, this is terrible. We got to stop. When the next person died, y'all said, oh, we got to stop. When the next person died after that, we said, oh, we got to stop. You must have missed the video on manager turned him over applying pressure and giving him mouth to mouth. That was later on. That man had been sitting there. She said, I must have missed it. What's your name? Pretty Cash TV. Leave it up to a loudmouth woman to come in. All right. So let me correct you, loudmouth. What they were doing were basic, and I mean very minimalistic, basic, not EMT qualified necessarily either, but more so what you would call pedestrian, trained at the freaking YMCA type of compressions. This was a medical compressions that actually saved your life. Those were medical compressions that would keep you stable until the EMT showed up and they were able to allow themselves and assess what was going on. Because if you're just holding compressions to someone's chest, you can actually make them bleed to death. Long story short, man, that guy did that for about, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then he stopped. Maybe you should go back and watch the video. That's the other thing too. They all want to be the sleuth. They all want to be the Scooby-Doo of the bunch. What do I mean by that? Well, I got a deeper theory. You got a deeper theory, huh? The theories are usually based on just that, theories. Or what they think they see in a 10-second video, because that video is nothing but about 10, 15 seconds long. There's another one that's a little bit longer. That one's about, I don't know, maybe roughly 6 minutes long, which they keep repeatedly taking down. I finally just grabbed it because I said, let me take it just in case. You know what I'm saying? I have to prove a point or something like that. Point is, I'm pretty sure Pretty Cash TV, Pretty Cash TV. Give me a second. Y'all still really think that this YouTube shit, y'all own it, right? Y'all got your old channel, right? You notice my channel just says David Lewis, that's it. Because I know I don't own this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I own the ones that are personally with me in it, but the ones that don't have personally me in it, I don't own them. Google owns them. And the company that owns Google Alphabet, they own those. That was a blogger coming in trying to see what you were saying so she could go back to her page and pronounce it to the people like she had this very fresh idea. No, you didn't. And I'm going to make sure to block your ass later. You ain't never donated or supported this channel. Get rid of people like that. This is my point, man. Outside of that dude dying alone, because that's what he did. Wasn't nobody holding his hand. I seen the videos, all three of them. Nobody was holding his hand. Nobody was consoling him. No one was acting like, is he okay or whatever, whatever. And I've seen these situations time and time and time again. Now, Pretty Cash TV, she don't be out in the street. She be behind the studio. Just like I told you, most of these coward-ass vloggers do. They sit inside the studio. They sit inside their home. They hide behind the camera. And they talk shit about people. That's what they do. And this is how they gain the donations, because the people that they are attuned to or grab as an audience, they do the same. These are the same people not even 20, 25 years ago would be the person that was sitting in the hair salon, kids, like that. This would be the same person be sitting in the hair salon, talking about how she takes better care of her kids than you do your kids. This would be the same person that you would run into the corner store and they give you the latest gossip. But now these motherfuckers are now turned, and now they are online. And they pretend like they're so decadent. They pretend like they're so opulent. They pretend, yes, I said pretend, like they just got it together. But it don't matter how much you pretend, you are an individual. And if you're not paying attention to what's happening around you and instead living in this little small world bubble that exists online while you're saying to yourself, oh, we're doing so well. No, the fuck you're not. I worked for multi-millionaires for 17 fucking years. I know what fucking doing good and making it looks like. And most of you motherfuckers that are under the castle, let's say, I don't know, $60,000, $70,000, I've seen people pull that shit up to the fucking strip club in the Brinks truck. Hey, I need 50. Bring it through. Brinks truck comes up, delivers your money for anything from $50,000 to $100,000. Boom, they're out. And that's in one night. You guys are running around with stacks like this and shit and talking like some fucking money. I know a car I could go buy right now for 80 fucking grand. I got pictures of fucking Maseratis, Lamborghinis, Porsches, you fucking name it. I've thrown them up a million times, videos. I've thrown them up a million times. I mean, more times I got to do this shit. I'm the real fucking deal. So don't talk to me about fucking money. Don't talk to me about the streets and all that shit or whatever, because it adds up to nothing. The only people that demolish themselves in that shit are people that still live in that cruddy ass, shitty ass fucking life. And most guys that have been in that life, like this man that was 40 fucking years old and was a getaway driver for his son, he knows better. Because at 40 years old, not even at 40, let's say 30, 35 years old, if you're in that type of lifestyle, most of the guys that are really in that fucking lifestyle, they're like, oh, you know what? I got to find me a change. I got to find me a change, because now at 40, 45 years old, if I get more than 5 to 10 years, my life's over. You get what I'm saying? I just think most people that live in the projects, the guys are really born and bred. And I know guys in Marcy, Sumner, Guy Brewer, River Park Towers, you name it. All right? I can walk through there at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, every last one of them I mention, and I guarantee you there'll be a motherfucker over there that said, don't bother him. I guarantee you. No cap. Got pictures in front of them, in them, everything else. You want me to throw those up too? I'll throw those up for you too, since everybody likes to dispel me. Y'all like lies. Y'all like being fed lies because lies make you feel good internally. There is a problem. And that problem exists within your culture, in Black culture and Latin culture. We got these boys out here that are being raised by women. And these women that are raising them in particularly are some of the most mentally unstable women you ever meet in your life. And these men, they react, they act, they even talk, they even carry themselves like women. I had a man walk past me the other day when I was sitting there and I'm smoking a cigarette. He did a circle around me, walks back around me, waits till he gets right in my ear like a pretty bitch at the club. And it's like, y'all ever seen this shit? Yeah, homie, yeah, I'm gonna get it together, man. Listen, I'm gonna have that. You know, I'm all about the bag. I'm like, yo, I'm a guy. You really have to say that to some of these boys nowadays. I'm a guy. Now, if you don't understand what I mean by this and how it has a connection to PNB Rock, there's a whole generation of these motherfuckers that have been raised by feminine ass stepfathers or fathers and bitchy, nasty, cantankerous ass fucking women. And the quicker that y'all fucking realize that, the better off you'll be. You're around a generation of baby kids, in other words. Wayward, shitty motherfuckers. And if you need an example of it, I'll point you to Chicago. I'll point you to Florida. I point you to New York City. I'll even point you to my state right here, Hartford, New Haven, Bridgeport. I'll point you down to Jersey, Patterson, Newark, Valley Junction. You want me to continue? I'll point you down to Philly, Kensington, Valley Stream, a couple other ones. I can point you to them. And everywhere that you see after the pandemic, the results after the pandemic, and you see everything that's happening in these areas, you come to the contention, well, maybe he's got a point, because these aren't solid law-abiding citizens that are doing these fucking crimes. These are the wayward motherfuckers of the world. Now, I'm not saying that everybody doesn't have their point of retribution to come back or whatever. But what I'm saying is, you are a worthless man or woman if you don't want to have the reality of the conversation. And I would even go as far as to say you're a fucking coon, because you're leaving it up to the white constituencies to eradicate the problem for you. Is that fair? Y'all didn't go out looking for the fucking shooter of PNB Rock. Y'all left it up to the white police agencies. The streets didn't put out the echo. The streets will put out an echo when something I know how shit works. Get the fuck out of here. The streets will put out an echo when it's something about so-and-so, this so-and-so. Yo, go take care of that. But the streets won't put an echo about a young man that didn't bother no fucking body going to eat with his daughter's mother in a restaurant. Nobody puts out the APB for that. Nobody says, hey, let's go out here to Vegas and pick him up for the police or get there before he gets. Y'all knew where he was at. It was at least 20 people in that city knew where he was at. And nobody said nothing. Nobody said nothing, and they won't say anything. This is what I'm trying to tell you. All this talk and this, and I keep saying it, I'm going to keep on saying it. All this talk about brotherly love and all this shit is a fucking farce. It's a tool and a mechanism. That's why I never say that shit. It's a tool and a mechanism to get fucking money out of you. That's what it is. You understand? And the quicker you understand this fucking tribe of fucking liars is out here, they call themselves Hotep such and such, or brother such and such, or sister such and such, or whatever. And the women, I trust them less than the guys. At least more of the guys are sincere that are here on YouTube. I can at least say that. At least more of the guys are sincere. The women, they seem to just do one brand, and that's gossiping. And all these women vloggers, none of y'all wanted to point out that this man's and this little motherfucker stepmother had something to do with the crime too. And there's pictures up of her. I put video up of her in court and everything else. And not one of you ladies went to the motherfucking grind to complain, to gossip, or even put that out there. That's the sad part about it. And that's what many of y'all should be asking. A lot of your favorite vloggers that you donate thousands of dollars to, I don't even care about your money anymore. I really don't. You know why? Because I said it like this. If the culture was going to help me, they would have did it a long time ago. So stop believing that shit. These people, and I'm being Black and Latin people, sorry, they only donate to confusion. If it has nothing to do with confusion, if it has nothing to do with because they like to make themselves internally feel better, because a lot of them feel like shit. That's the reality of it. This is why you don't see any of these female bloggers on here talking about this woman and her involvement in this crime and the killing of PNB Rock. They've almost eradicated her from the conversation. And I've seen 2 women now just focus on the son and the father, but say nothing, not even make one mention that there was a third person, which was the mother, who was arraigned yesterday in court. So let's say this, right? And I'm gonna get up on out of here because I don't spend too much time going live on here anymore because it's monetarily got to make sense for me. So I wanted to say this because it's from my heart. And if you guys would like to donate, it's $ STRINGERBELL80. As I watch people click in and then click out, look, we'll see what he's talking about. Then click back in and then click out. Oh shit, he mentioned this Cash App. Click out. Coward motherfuckers, most of them. Um, yeah, I said that. Most of these bloggers are fucking cowards. I ain't never had no experience down the street. You ain't never been to jail before. You never done nothing. You're just a chatty motherfucker that gets online, unaccomplished, I would say. Ask half of these bloggers, who were they before they jumped online? You get your answers to everything. Ask these guys that talk the most, who the fuck were they before they got online? See, I was somebody before I got online. But ask these vloggers, your favorite vloggers, the chatty, gossiping, bitchy ones, the men. Ask them who they were. And a lot of them will identify with this motherfucker and his son that went out there and they killed that kid and that freaking Roscoe's and Chickens and Waffles. And I want to tell everybody else this too, and I don't give a fuck how y'all feel. Anybody, everybody, because I saw Kodak Black went to that same fucking Roscoe's and Chicken, right? Don't go to that fucking place. Don't go to that place. And if you can't possibly, boycott that motherfucking spot as much as you can and let them go bankrupt and have to close it. And I'm going to tell you why I said that. Because some people that own the location, they made their own statement and announcement or whatever. They were very voluntarily ready to jump in front of the fucking camera and talk about whatever they wanted to talk about, right? But prior to PNB Rock getting killed, what the part that y'all leave out is, in that dangerous neighborhood where that location is of that Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle, y'all done had other incidents that happened up there. And the only thing it did was take me a couple of minutes to look it up. And I said, oh, 2022, y'all have had almost 16 different incidents up at that same fucking location. Let that place close the fuck down. Kodak Black, don't go up there. Don't go up there. Now you put yourself in danger. Not only that, you're rewarding these motherfuckers. And the ghost of that man, PNB Rock, is in there now. You understand what I'm saying? People that know what I'm talking about. Tú sabes la gente, no shango. Stay away from that shit. It's bad vibes. That's my point, man. I am sick and tired of these guys that get online. They talk about how they're alphas and all this shit or whatever, whatever. Well, get your alpha ass up and do something about this mess here. I remember when I was younger, we used to have these positive brother Hakeem types, you know, and the reason I respected them more, because this is a lot of what these guys online are trying to emulate, the positive brother Hakeems or positive brother Hector, you know, those types that used to come around for the DARE program, where these guys used to come around, you know, they be an influence. We're taking the kids on a trip to Six Flags or something like that. I need those guys back in existence more than ever now. You got to catch these kids when they're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, because they're coming from disoriented households that are birthed in fucking confusion. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning that I always think it's in contention. Me and my mother's side of the family, we never really got along like that, but I love them. But at the same time, they always influence different things to us. I tell all the time, my aunt was my third grade English teacher, you know? So it's like, there's families that have disdain in between them, and then there's families that have hatred birthed into them. And I know a lot of y'all want to click off now. Oh, you don't know what he's talking about. I know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm going to start doing this new thing where I'm going to present what I've said before and the date, and then I'm going to show what happens later on to prove my point even more, as I did just recently with Lotta Cash Desco, because that very same night before she had got shot and killed, I was talking about the same thing when it came to Caresha or Carisha, whatever her name is, and Diddy, and him buying her that SUV for $200,000. And what did I say that night? I said, and it's still down below, I said, yo, that's not a good idea to do this in this environment. See, one of the pluses I have from not just being a vlogger that talks in the studio or whatever, even though that's what I'm in right now, one of the pluses of being one of the vloggers that actually goes out in the street and goes to locations, like I went to Brooklyn to that Pastor Whitehead's church or whatever, God bless him, and all that stuff or whatever. One of the reasons that I'm different, because I always got the beat. You understand what I'm saying? I'm able to see and register what's going on. These motherfuckers are going to the internet and trying to see what's going on. And y'all rewarding them. I just don't understand the mentality. And I think more and more and more as it starts to spread out, people will maybe come closer, you know what I'm saying, to realizing, hey, you know what, he's got a point. You're paying people and rewarding people that don't even get off their fucking couch. And then the guys out here doing the real work. Shout to the Troy Terrain. Shout to Choke No Joke. Shout to a lot of other people that actually get up and go outside. These guys don't even go outside. You think you can feel how you want to about the vloggers I just mentioned or whatever, but you sit in the comfortability of your studio. That's why you don't know what's going on. You don't know how people are interacting. You don't know how people are talking. You don't know how people are moving. Most of these vloggers, even the ones that are in New York City right now, they spend so much time online trying to hustle people for dough or whatever the case may be. They can't even tell you what's going on in their own city right now. And I've heard so many of these New York vloggers. That's why they'll take the retrospect and go back and talk about shit that happened 5, 10, 15 years ago versus talking about what's happening right now. I don't care about that nostalgia shit. To be quite honest with you, half of them stories don't need to be talked about. Half of them stories, I don't care to recount on. Half of them stories, it's not nobody's fucking business. And then you can play when one of these guys go over there and talk to Vlad, or one of those guys goes talk to the art of dialogue, or one of these guys and they pinpoint a story that happened in 1992 or something like that. Why the fuck would I care about something that happened in 1992? I was a kid. You get what I'm saying? So it's like for me, you got to start doing your due diligence as these alphas you pretend that you are, these kangs and quines that y'all pretend that y'all are. I think it's all a fucking fraud, and I think the more and more y'all start lacking, the more and more it's coming to fruition. There should be more people talking about PNB Rock's murder. It should be more people talking about the suspects that are involved in PNB Rock's murder. It should be more female vloggers showing a description, picture, or giving their dissertation or commentary on the female involved in it. And I hear nothing. And what they're going to do in the end is, I know how a lot of black women and Latin women work. What they're going to do is they're going to make this woman, they're going to pan her out, pan her as a victim. She was abused. Watch what I tell you. She was abused. She was put under pressure. She didn't want to help aid the 17-year-old son and her husband, but she had to because she had no other. They got to make a real fucking daytime soap opera out this shit. Entonces sabe la gente de la novela. Entonces sabe por la gente latino. So this is what you got to watch for. This is what you got to watch for. Because they're going to paint this woman that helped a murderer and a getaway driver and has now been charged by the court. They're going to give her an excuse. And there's going to be at least, let me say at the minimum, it's going to be about 5 female bloggers that do it first. Then after those 5 female bloggers, it'll be an eruption of it. Oh, he had been abusing her for years. There's records to show she filled out a restraining order 6 years ago. Well, why did the bitch leave? Why did she leave? That's going to be what's pinpointed to you. Now, I want y'all to hear me when I say this, because I'm going to go back to this when it happens, and I'm going to make sure I merge this together so you can understand, oh, damn, he did say that. And I found my key. I said, that's what I got to start doing. I got to start having a date, having a clip, and then merge it together. But when it actually happens, for them to actually understand, no, what I'm trying to tell you is reality. A lot of you think you're smarter than me, but you're not. A lot of you think you're smarter than me. A lot of you think I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do. And the reason it is because I've seen more of life than you have. So some of you can't even keep up with what I'm saying because you just don't understand. But what I'm trying to tell you is you're walking your way into a world and creating an environment for yourself where you think momentarily it's great. Everybody's getting the bag, right? The end, and a lot of you motherfuckers talking about getting the bag. Y'all working at Starbucks. Y'all working at McDonald's. Y'all working at the local car dealership. That's not getting a bag. Ain't no $100,000 or more coming out of that. All right. So you're living in delusion. So I'm talking about the people that are making $100,000, right? For those people, what you're doing, you're selling these people that are making under $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year, $60,000, and selling them a dream, and you're making them think they can ascertain something. And some of them will, but most of them won't. And what happens is desperation follows. And this is where you see situations like a father and a son go rob a man for over, 70K worth of jewelry off his neck and kill him subsequently to make sure they got that money. And they didn't care that the guy looked exactly like them. In fact, he was more of a target because he was black. You understand? This is how black dudes do. You don't believe me? They wouldn't have went to Hollywood and Vine. They wouldn't have went to Central. They wouldn't have went to within the 30-mile zone over there by the Staples and near that. They wouldn't have did that there. Now, that's to say things like that don't happen over there because they do. But these two definitely wouldn't have went over there. These were two cowards. The father was a coward and the son was a coward. It ain't hard to tell. If it wasn't the case, I know some guys that'll honestly and truthfully rob you with no gun. I've seen it. I've seen somebody get shaken. Man, give me that. I mean, and nothing happens. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing getting pulled. Even the people he with is like, well, I've seen it happen. Shout out to my man Debo, man, John Taylor. I've seen it happen. New London, what's going on? New London, Connecticut, what's up, man? I've seen it happen. I've seen somebody get several times with no gun, you know? So these guys were cowards. And I think more so what he wanted to do, he wanted the spotlight to say, hey, I'm the guy that killed PNB Rock. Okay, well, you got that to brag about and spend your lifetime telling the story because they're going to convict your black ass and they're going to put you under the jail. And you think nothing was going to happen about it because this young man was the same color as you are. This is a prerequisite that a lot of these guys have, both black and Latino. They think because you're black or you're Latino, nothing's going to happen out of it. No, just due from the law exists with everyone. You understand what I'm saying? There are races that believe this and carry this narrative on too. And a lot of times when you get blacks and Latinos and they become friends with whites, usually what I find is they end up getting the ear of poor white trash versus stand-up white people. I know the difference between poor white trash and stand-up white people. A lot of Latinos and blacks don't because they've spent the bulk of their life living just around other blacks and Latinos. You understand? So the way I grew up, especially on the shoreline and down south for a moment and all that or whatever, I grew up around a lot of white people. I never made no contention about that. I think I understand them a little bit better than most people. They hear when I talk out my voice and I've been around them. You know what I mean? So I don't hide it. I never have. I go into the hoods, I talk the same freaking way. I don't switch it up. Be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, son? You can ask anybody that knows me. I never switch it up. You know, this is who I am because of who I am. But I have to say this, and I'm going to say this lastly. If you guys keep putting emphasis on gossiping instead of real issues that are going on, like this PNB Rock issue, because this is bigger than this PNB Rock. This speaks for a neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? Meaning that I can't say if PNB Rock would have had his kid there with him. That was his daughter's mother. So say if they would have had the kid with them coincidentally. This would have been even worse because now that little girl would have been scarred for the rest of her life. And I know children like that too. I've met them before. Mothers have been killed. This is the New York City tri-state. You understand? So you see a lot. You see a lot. Involved in it, not involved in it. So I say to myself, what if PNB Rock's daughter would have been with him? They still would have done the same thing. But y'all not listening. This little girl grows up and she's scarred, and now she takes this into relationships. She takes this into her private life. She has now an imagery of men of color or murderers, and she's traumatized, whatever the case may be. And a lot of these girls go through these one situations and it rides with them for the rest of their life, this unresolved. And they never talk about it. They just show frustration to give you the imagery. You understand? I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad that little girl wasn't there. I really am. Because I know what the setback would have been for her mentally. What I'm just asking you guys is this. As you move forward and you keep logging, because we're about to be in 2023 in a minute. As you move forward and keep logging, in between all those gossiping and blah, 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 the keys and LOLs, y'all please hit the like button if y'all would. Y'all could at least do that since you won't donate with your cheap asses. More y'all like me, but y'all like to listen to me, which is weird. But please proceed. Instead of talking about gossip every 5 minutes or trying to run on somebody's page and find out about gossip every 5 minutes and reiterate it to somebody else without having your own original twist on it, why don't y'all do this? Why don't y'all start trying to talk about something positive? Now, we can gossip all day. I like gossiping sometimes, my damn self. I talk about little things here, little tensions. So-and-so said this, so-and-so said that, or whatever. Because I know that gets your attention. That's how you think. But at one time in this country, y'all didn't think like that. And that's why I got to get you back to. One of these times in this country, not only did you not think like this, but you thought way smarter. You thought way smarter. You worked way harder. You moved very differently. And if we would have continued that momentum, you'd probably be further along than you are right now. Right now, the only thing we got is a whole bunch of niggas and bitches sitting online tap dancing, talking about, we made it. Yeah. Like fucking jigs. And yeah, that's what you look like. You look like a bunch of fucking tap dancing jigs. What do you want me to tell you? You're doing a fine fucking good job. People get fired up when I say shit like that. I don't give a shit. It's what you are. You return to the primitive. You have went back to sharecroppers. You have went back. Even you can see their voices have digressed. A lot of you have never heard of this man before, and I want to say his name right. I could use examples. If you've ever paid attention to people pronunciated and they spoke in the 60s, when you're talking about people like H. Rap Brown, Angela, Jesus Christ, I forgot her name. I said her name is so long, but the Black Panther activist, and many others. If you listen to the octave, that means if you're not familiar with what the word octave means, that means the tone of voice. And my octave is high pitched. I can't help it. But if you listen to the octave and the presentation of their vernacular, when they were speaking, it was very different than now. Now, if you do that in comparison to back in the slave days or after the Prohibition, Proclamation, Emancipation had been signed or whatever, you find that there was a slurred voice, and that voice was almost related to calling slave talk. You know what I mean? Eyes don't know. Man, listen, there's a lot of fortitude put towards emphasizing that you were from a certain struggle, right? And the people that didn't speak like that, right? And we see this depicted in movies. If you've never seen the movie Glory, you should go check that out. That's about a battalion right up the street here in Elmhurst, Massachusetts. Okay. They have a plaque up there. I've been there to visit it. I might even go back up there so you guys can see it. But the platoon in the movie Glory, they were from right up the street here in Elmhurst, Massachusetts. I've been up there before. I had friends that used to live over Holyoke. I used to go visit them. And Elmhurst is also 2 women's colleges over there. So I know Mass very well. It's like, that's local for a while. I lived at on the shoreline here in Connecticut. You have now got people online as vloggers in 2020. Pay attention to me. In 2022, don't tell me you ain't seen it. And they talk like slaves or degrade their voices, their true natural voices, to sound like this, to be familiar to their audience. And then I have to ask the question, well, who the fuck is your audience? A bunch of fucking college and high school dropouts? You're selling your voice, your time, your ideas, your reconstruction plans, your organization plans, sadly enough, to a bunch of dumb motherfuckers, people that don't care anything about that. The only thing they care about is the momentum in which it henceforth in your chat room, below your chat, or when you're live. Trust me, the majority of these people, when you get offline, I think about this stuff all the time, but the majority of these people that join in the conversation to get offline or throw in their 2 cent worth or whatever, they don't give a fuck about what you said 2 minutes after you finish doing your live. They don't care. They move on to the next person. Well, he wasn't talking about enough drama. Let me go over here and tell this person because they talk about drama. And that's what they do. So, in ending this, because I said I'm only doing an hour with you guys or whatever. If you guys like to donate, $STRINGERBELL 80. That's Stringer Bell 80. And make sure you hit the like button. A lot of people don't like the fact that I talk about my Cash App. A lot of people don't think that I deserve, even though you come on my page and it's guaranteed 4 to 5 uploads a day versus people that don't do half the work and they only do 1 live a week and end up getting that. That goes to show you they don't like me. You know what I mean? That's okay. That's cool. We reach some people that do like me. You understand what I'm saying? So it's all right. The numbers will increase, and I will remember some of these other people because trust me, this channel is going to be huge. I told you that before, but we were at 2,000 followers. Now we're at 10.7K. So I think I'm living out what I said I was doing. You know. So when we get up to that 100,000 marker, there'll be people more than generous to donate to the cause or whatever. I'm not a gossiper. I'm not a liar. So therefore, I have to take the hit. That's only gossipers and liars get rewarded in Black and Latin culture. That's just the way it is. Or rebel rousers or troublemakers. That's how they think. Most of them, not all, but most, including your stars. Evidently, I saw. Speaking of that, it was funny. I saw a post that Puff put up, and he said, guy asked him. He said, "What?" And I speak about Puff. If you guys don't know, I used to work for the company. I worked for Bad Boy Entertainment for 17 years. And he said to him, "What's the most you ever tipped somebody?" Or it was a rumor you had tipped somebody $250,000. And he said, yeah, the rumor's true. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they would have to break it up amongst a whole bunch of them, but I gave 250 to one solo person. And I'm thinking to myself, I said, motherfucker, you gave $250,000 as a tip to a motherfucker that you don't know, but the team can't get 10K? No, you got to work for that. Like even your celebrities are frauds, and they don't even realize it because they've been fraud for so long. I'm not saying he's a fraud like he's a sucker, but I mean, I mean, you know what I mean? Like if I use the word for you, right? And I say, hey, yo, listen, man, to get me right, I could use like 10 grand, because really that's how much it's going to be, like 10, 15 grand real quick so I just get back on my feet, right? And then you hear a motherfucker do an interview and they talk about, yeah, I gave somebody $250,000 for bringing me and serving my food. And you ain't know them. They don't have any relevance to the company or nothing like that. But you should give everybody that was working with us. I'm talking about my department. You should give every last one of us like $50,000. Be like, look, I know times are rough. We just came out of pandemic. Inflation is high as fuck. I know you probably spending every dime you got at the grocery store. Here, let me give you this to help out your family. And this is how most of those quote unquote black CEOs, quote unquote Latin CEOs, because we worked with some of them too. And many of this collectively as a unit, these people think, but yet still they talk about prosperity. Well, when they talk about that prosperity, keep in mind they're only talking about a set amount of people within the diaphragm of their friends. This is why you'll see during the pandemic somebody go out and buy somebody a $1.2 million car as a gift. Where the fuck are you going? This is why you'll see people gift each other, multimillionaires gift each other. This is why you will see regular, normal people that work 9 to 5s. They will go to personalities that are freaking superstars, but now have a podcast and donate to them, even though these people are already multimillionaires. It's a skewed environment we're in, and we got some messed up individuals that are in that environment. And some of these people you're looking forward to, and you're trying to applaud them and admonish them and hold them up in such high regard, but in reality, these people ain't shit. That's all I got to say, guys. Anyway, guys, if you'd like to donate, it's $STRINGERBELL80. I know tomorrow's the first of the month and all that shit. So donate $10 or whatever, $15, $20 towards the cause or whatever the case may be. But more importantly enough, make sure that you take some of the words that I say and use them to the betterment. There's more that you can do than sit around talking about the demise, talking about the fall or whatever. This right here, this topic of PNB Rock getting shot and killed by a family holds higher regard than anything you gossiping about or who just went to prison. Y'all talked about all this other stuff. Talk about this. Again, guys, $STRINGERBELL80. There's also a PayPal link in the description box. It's also a GoFundMe link in the description box. And also, you will find Amazon wish list down there. Make sure you pick something up on there too. Donate a couple dollars or whatever the case may be. And guys, have a good night. Unfortunately, I can't do a lot of lives. I will do some uploads, but I can't do a lot of lives if it's not monetarily beneficial for me. I had to make that promise to myself because I'm not a gossiper. And the people that do enjoy what I do, I thank you so much. But I'm not a full-time gossiper. I'm not going to get up on here and talk down to people or whatever because I got my own mistakes that I've made before in life. So who the fuck am I to judge somebody else? Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. I'll talk to you later.